guys, Amascut here, giving my thoughts on RuneFest. I'm going to start with each section, big presentation that occurred, and talk about each one separately, so we're going to get a separate video for each major presentation. They're not going to be super long. I'm going to kind of gloss over everything as quickly as I can, except Menifos, because Menifos hype. But we're going to start with talking about the rest of 2016. So we got a pretty not necessarily vague, but pretty basic outline of everything we're getting for October, November, and December. So let's go ahead and start with October. So the first thing that was confirmed was that Bounty Hunter has been officially delayed until October, which is a shame, but what do you expect? With Elo systems trying to implement, it's fairly complicated, so we're going to get Bounty Hunter probably as the first update of October. Following that up, we are getting the Arc Chapter 2, which, especially after the new information and videos that we got, I am incredibly excited about. Everything we saw looks absolutely gorgeous. The new gameplay that's been suggested and hinted seems really, really exciting. And overall, just really interesting content. We're getting more music, 4 new sets of islands. Oh my goodness, just lots of really, really cool stuff. One major thing they were talking about was changing the way we travel to uncharted islands, so the cost of supplies are being reduced, less supplies are being required to go to each island. There'll be no more supply cap. You can find supplies on islands. You can get free island travel, sometimes as rare drops, and at the launch everybody will get 50 supplies for free. I'm not sure how I feel about this one, to be honest. I understand they want to push people to go to islands more, especially because the experience there is amazing. And, reducing the cost of travel certainly can help, but they've already reduced the cost of travel, and there's already upgrades that reduce the cost of travel. So I'm not sure that this method is the best, per se. Either way, it seems like they're doing it, and who am I to complain? It'll simply make using tools for invention a lot easier, especially for mining. But yeah, that's one thing. Sorry, they seem to be doing. We are getting 4 new sets of islands with this: Cyclosis, Goshima, Twilight, and the islands that once were turtles. We also have some confirmation of several new skilling methods, which include divination and farming, as well as herblore, thieving, and construction. Divination is one that will be spread across the islands that once were turtles, Goshima, and Cyclosis. It seems Twilight's the only one that won't be getting this new divination method, and that will be by harvesting what seems to be divine positive energy, according to one screenshot we got. We are also getting a couple other new things on the islands, farming for wushrooms, which is awesome. Some form of herblore. It doesn't seem like we're mixing potions, but it seems to have something to do with Cyclosis and mixing some form of sunscreen, I guess. The thieving is just general thieving, construction. There's also seems to be some additions to Hunter with impling-like creatures flying around, as well as bird watching. So let's go ahead and talk about each of the islands real quick. Cyclosis is obviously the Cyclops Island, and it seems like the Guardians have been spending a lot of time on this area. It looks large and it looks gorgeous, and there's a lot of lore just in the screenshots we have. It also seems like Cyclosis might be another hub island of sorts, because we have images that show a chef, banker, smith, salt merchant. We also have some really interesting hints about 2 new gods, 2 Cyclops gods called Haralon and Bugalon. Haralon is the sun Cyclops god, and Bugalon is the moon Cyclops god. Now, we're unsure if these are actual gods or just, sort of cave painting sort of things, because we have 2 gigantic stone wall concept arts that show the 2 gods walking. But if they're real, that really opens up a lot of really cool and interesting god content. There was a theory flying around after these were announced that maybe this is the Cyclops' interpretation of Ceridome and Zamorak, but we have no confirmation of that yet. For Goshima, We have a large castle image, for instance, that looks really cool. Um, as well as just some creepy slaver stuff. It should be relatively awesome. The island also seems like it's going to be fairly rainy all the time. I'm not 100% on that, but from what I can tell, that does seem to be the case. Guangdong, the city, sorry, looks to be fairly closed off with large high walls and a camp outside. Twilight, on the other hand, is a fairly sunny, forested citadel, and we have confirmation that the gnomes will actually be there, which is really exciting. We have the gnome colony, and I'm assuming that's where we're getting the crystal siphon, one of the new arc rewards. I assume that's how we'll be getting them, by integrating with the gnomes somehow. There's even a gnome copter landed on the beach by Twilight, which is really cool. And finally, the islands that once were turtles are 3 islands that apparently once were turtles. It's Don't really have anything much else to say about them yet. Originally, it seems like the Halloween event was intended to be on the islands, but this has changed. The Halloween event is now called Invention of Disaster, and will be invention that takes place in the dimension of disaster. I don't know why this was changed. I'm actually a little surprised about that, especially because allowing free-to-players to go to the Ark briefly and check that stuff out would have been a really cool strategy, and I'm a little surprised they changed that one. Anyway, back to the Ark, though. It seems like they're adding a lot of interesting content. We have, from Joe, confirmation that there will be at least 5 new mini-quests. An image that they displayed shows 5 new castaways beyond the 5 that have already been found in the Ark Batch 1. A new system of collections, which we have no information about that one, but I'm eager to see what that is. We have the Implings, which are probably, or the Impling likes, which are probably part of that. And a couple more things. We have some new rewards, which include tier 85 boots and gloves to complete ports armor sets, and some hints that there will be more be a set effect for each port's armor. The Crystal Siphon, as I mentioned, which allows crystal equipment to be siphoned as if it was tier 90 instead of tier 70 or 80. And a Hunter outfit, which is just like most other skilling outfits. When worn, 1% XP per piece and a 6% XP boost for the complete set. This is not a treasure hunter set. This is coming from the Arc Batch 2, which is very exciting, and will stack with the Actui stick. And that's October. So for November, we have Fate of the Gods Part 2, or Number 2, finally confirmed. And it's no longer called Fate of the Gods 2, of course. It is now does have a name, which is Children of Ma. The requirements are Dishonored Among Thieves, Fate of the Gods, and the Light Within, and Ritual of the Majorat is recommended. For some reason, they had the World Wakes listed as a recommended quest, but it's required for the Light Within, so that really doesn't make much sense to me. In this quest, we will be teaming up with Karshai at the opening, and the quest will take us back to Frenesque. We'll explore the past and the future of the Majorat, explore new sections of Frenesque, and we'll get to see Zamorak's betrayal of Zeros firsthand. As extra content, we don't know if that's part of the quest or some early content or some sort of God story flashback, but we do know that we will get an early access to the Throne Room as part of what may well be a Tale of the Majorat launching beforehand, but there's some sort of mini-quest launching beforehand. We know that Zamorak and Zeros will meet in the quest, and that will be a huge moment, and that's very exciting. There'll be several Master Quest Cape requirements with this coming as well, which seems really cool. And the quest overall looks like it will be really wonderful. I'm very excited to see how this quest plays out. With the extra time spent on this quest, I'm sure it will be really lovely. We also in November have an update called Bank Bidders coming out, which I, for one, hate. Bank Bidders is basically like Storage Wars sort of thing, where banned bot accounts can have their banks bidded on by the community. You put in a bid based on the only information I believe you see is the account's creation date and its total level or something like that. But either way, I'm really against this one. This seems weak. This seems really bad. I made a post on the forums, not as a main topic, but as a reply, and I basically just said this seems like a really weak way to make use of bots' accounts and their resources. It has the potential to be like Botany Bay, where the better Jagex gets at banning bots, the less useful this update becomes. My biggest issue, though, is it seems like it's almost flaunting how much wealth bots have picked up. Jagex, instead of making this update, really should just spend those resources on further strengthening their anti-bot systems. We shouldn't be able to win millions of gold from bots when the game systems should prevent bots from getting those millions in the first place. So this update really just dead on arrival for me, and I really think it's a huge disappointment that they thought this was a good idea. I'm sorry, it's just doesn't seem any good to me. Anyway, moving on past November, we have December, which includes the finale for the Sliskies series, Sliske's Endgame. This quest really will be culminating in pretty much everything that's happened so far. The whole series is coming to an end here, and we're going to find out really what Sliske's goals are. The quest requirements listed by Jagex are actually really messy, lots of redundancy, but they listed pretty much every 6th age quest as well as some recommended requirements. But the actual requirements are the Death of Chivalry, Children of Ma, that being Fate of the Gods 2, Heart of Stone, Hero's Welcome, Kindred Spirits, Nomad's Elegy, and One of a Kind. All the other requirements listed are already requirements for other quests on the list. Additionally, they made a mistake on the quest requirements list. They put Within the Light as the last requirement instead of the Light Within. This is what you guys get for naming 2 quests so close. Anyway, the quest seems like it's really, really huge. We know it is a repeatable quest, and it changes based on your choices. The first playthrough that you do will be the canon playthrough, and any future playthroughs are not canon, but it lets you see what other decisions and choices you could have made throughout the series, and how that affected the gameplay. Let's see. Additionally, the story elements will involve the Stone of Jas, gathering all the gods together, and what Sliske's plan really will be. We have a couple small images for it as well. Beyond just that initial concept art, we also see some sort of weird like ocean dock thing with floating Sliske sort of symbols, and it looks like he'll be gathering everybody somewhere new. Now, we don't know where that is yet. Finally, in December, we will, of course, be getting the Christmas update, which I'm legitimately excited about, as I was last year. We'll be getting the Advent calendar like we did last year, and this one will be made by the Ninjas. And it will have story elements that unlock training methods, which is really cool. Additionally, it will be somewhat anniversary themed, just like much of this year's content. It will be a celebration of the 15th year of RuneScape. And I'm really excited to see how that plays out. It looks like that's really the rest of the year, though. The 3 big updates that they talked about that we didn't know were Invention of Disaster, because we thought it was going to be Halloween in the Ark. The Bank Bidders, which, as I mentioned, is really a disappointment. And the Christmas event being 15-year anniversary themed. So, yeah, looks like a really good roundup to the end of this year. I didn't hear any mention of any additional sorts of updates beyond, how we know that Bounty Hunter and Deathmatch are coming in September. These 3 new updates and these 3 large ones. So that's the end of the rest of 2016's Thoughts On. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on really the rest of the stuff we're getting for this year. Thanks for listening. I've been Amascut, and keep your eyes peeled for the next episode of Thoughts On, which will be covering more stuff from RuneFest.